He's like, I am the best shooter this game, and he's saying it out loud so everyone can see. I'm like, oh my God, he's outing me at my home in front of all my family and friends. I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen.
Larry Bird didn't need to crack jokes. He made the NBA laugh by being brutally honest and backing up every word.
Ever seen.
You know, he got that big smile. My goal was to try to take 3 of them teeth home with me.
And as I come back out of the huddle, right, we try to take the ball out of bounds or whatever. Larry walks by and he goes.
Larry Bird wasn't flashy, loud, or even funny on purpose. Yet some of the funniest NBA stories ever told come from him, because he always spoke the truth and proved it.
Playing the Celtics in Market Square Arena at the time, and it was a close game, but they were going to end up winning it. He's at the free throw line. And gamesmanship and talking a little bit, you know, I'm going to try to, you know, throw off his rhythm, thinking I'm going to throw off Larry Bird's rhythm. And, you know, as the official goes to give the guy the ball, you know, you'll cross the lane, like, hold up, you'll cross the lane and, you know, just try to ice the shooter a little bit. Dribble it once. He's like, Reggie, are you freaking kidding me? Reggie, are you freaking kidding me? I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen. You think you're going to be able to ice me as he's talking? Next one, wah. I'm like, damn. I walk to the other side, and Kevin McHale goes, yeah, that was kind of stupid of you to do something like that, right? I'm like, oh, shit. He's like, I am the best shooter this game, and he's saying it out loud so everyone can see. I'm like, oh my God.
And here's where it gets wild. Rookie Reggie Miller thought he could play mind games with Larry Bird at the free throw line. Miller tried to ice him, saying little things to throw him off. Bird didn't just brush it off. He raised his voice so the entire arena could hear. He said, clear as day, I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen. Imagine that moment. Quiet gym, fans holding their breath, and Bird basically announcing his greatness for everyone. Reggie was stunned, frozen, and almost embarrassed. Because here's the kicker. Bird nailed the free throw without a flinch. The crowd roared, Miller looked small, and Bird, he just walked back on defense like nothing happened. That wasn't even trash talk. That was Bird speaking fact, daring anyone to disagree. What would you have done if a legend called his shot right in your face?
Our game with you when you walked in and asked who was going to get second place in the three-point contest. When you walked in there, what were you thinking when you made that announcement to the room? Just messing with all those guys like you always did?
Yeah, I didn't. Everybody's sitting there. Everybody's real quiet. You really didn't. You knew the guys, but you never were around them, and nobody's really saying anything.
But wait, it gets even better. Fast forward to the All-Star weekend, the famous three-point contest. The locker room is stacked. Some of the best shooters in the NBA, nervous, stretching, prepping for battle. Then the door swings open and Larry Bird walks in. He doesn't nod, doesn't smile. He scans the room, holds the ball, and drops one of the coldest lines ever. Which one of you's coming in second? Silence. Nobody said a word, because deep down, they all knew he meant it. Bird then goes out, racks up shot after shot, and the crowd loses its mind. On the final rack, with the money ball in the air, he raises his finger in victory before it even goes in. Swish. Contest over. The legend was sealed not with cocky jokes, but with confidence so real it turned into comedy. Tell me, have you ever seen anything more disrespectfully funny?
In the beginning, I wanted to be friends, but Larry didn't want none of that. You know, and so, you know, and so I said, okay, if that's how it's going to be, then we have to be like that. So I started disliking.
This part blew my mind. Magic Johnson, the guy with the biggest smile in basketball, thought meeting Larry Bird would be all jokes, laughs, and instant chemistry. After all, they'd just gone toe-to-toe in the NCAA finals, shared history, shared spotlight. Why wouldn't there be some warmth? But when Magic showed up, Bird gave him nothing. No handshake jokes, no friendly banter, just silence, cold stares, that famous deadpan glare, like he was sizing up an enemy, not a peer. For Magic, it was awkward. He was expecting a connection, but Bird made it clear, this is business. Over time, Their rivalry turned into one of the greatest friendships in sports. But that very first meeting, it was ice cold. That's what made Bird funny without even trying. He didn't play into expectations, didn't care about vibes, just basketball. Can you imagine being Magic Johnson and getting flat out stonewalled by your biggest rival?
I'll never forget, everything just started, it went in slow motion. I never had taken the ball out. That wasn't my thing, right? I throw it up, Bird sneaks in. I didn't even see him. But the thing I remember the most is that joker. This is the out of bounds line. That joker caught the ball, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, he going out of bounds. That dude did this, like a ballerina. The baseline is right up under his toes. And in my mind, he must have stood there for about 5 seconds because everything was going in slow motion in my mind, right? And it's like, I'm like, and then it's a strange moment. I'm like, damn, how you doing that?
And just when you think you've seen it all, Bird does this. Eastern Conference Finals, 1987, Game 5. The Pistons were up by 1. Isaiah Thomas had the ball, ready to inbound, with just seconds left. The Palace crowd was already celebrating in their heads. But Larry Bird saw it before it happened. He jumped the pass like he had it written in a script. With ballet-like balance, he snatched the ball, stayed in bounds, and in one motion, fired it to Dennis Johnson, who laid it in for the win. Isaiah Thomas himself admitted later, "That's the most unbelievable play ever made against me." You could see the heartbreak on his face. 1 second, victory. The next, Bird had stolen not just the ball, but the game, the crowd's breath, and Detroit's soul. If you were watching live, your jaw probably hit the floor. That's not just clutch. That's comedy and cruelty.
Michael Jordan called Clyde out and went at him. Tell him, this is what I'm gonna do to you. Fall away jumper, good. What did I tell you? So I said, no, Clyde, you better get him back. You better get him back.
But wait, here's a quieter moment that still shakes history. It's 1992, and the Dream Team scrimmages in Monte Carlo. Magic Johnson, still competitive, is chirping at Michael Jordan, trying to test him. Trash talk is flying, and the scrimmage is heating up. Jordan doesn't back down. He takes over. He scores, defends, and runs the floor like the future king he is. The gym is buzzing, players on the sideline watching something special unfold. And sitting there, injured, barely moving, is Larry Bird. No theatrics, no speeches, just one dry line that changed everything. It's Michael's league now. That's it. Simple, blunt, classic Bird. He didn't crown Jordan with applause, didn't sugarcoat it, just stated the obvious in a way that carried weight. Because when Larry Bird said it, you believed it. That single sentence marked the passing of the torch. Isn't it crazy how sometimes the funniest, most powerful moment is just a quiet truth?
I always tell this story about Larry Bird. I remember him, he was cursing under his breath. And I asked him, I said, Larry, what's going on with you? He says, you guys are being disrespectful to me. And I says, what are you talking about? He says, you guys are putting a white guy on me. That's disrespectful.
Wait, who's the white guy you put on him?
I can't remember who it was. I just started laughing. I had no comeback. When he says, it's disrespectful when y'all put a white guy on me. And I'm sitting there like.
And here's one of the funniest Bird stories ever. Charles Barkley swears it happened in the middle of a game. Bird was torching defenders like usual, hitting shot after shot, barely breaking a sweat. Then, in the middle of all this, he suddenly stops and looks at the bench. He says, dead serious, you guys are being disrespectful. You're putting a white guy on me. Barkley couldn't stop laughing. He thought it was a joke. But Bird wasn't joking at all. He genuinely felt insulted. To him, putting a white defender on him was like saying he wasn't worth the best matchup. Bird expected the other team's toughest, meanest, and strongest defender. Nothing less. That's the thing. Bird's humor came from how honest he was. He didn't play around. He just spoke whatever was on his mind. And it was usually brutal. Barkley later admitted that moment stuck with him forever. because who else would ever say something like that out loud during a live NBA game? But Bird's bluntness wasn't just on the court. It carried into his role as an executive. Ask Al Harrington. The young forward had just arrived in Indiana, nervous but excited to be part of Larry Bird's Pacers. He showed up to his very first meeting with the team. The problem was he came in late. Just a couple of minutes, but late is late. And Bird, sitting there in charge, didn't waste a single second. He didn't say hello, didn't shake his hand, didn't even offer a welcome to the team. Instead, his very first words to Harrington were, "Don't ever if I'm going to be late again." That was it. No sugarcoating, no warm introductions, just raw accountability. Harrington never forgot it because it told him everything he needed to know about Bird as a boss. Respect the game, respect the team, and most importantly, respect the time. Imagine that being your very first memory of meeting Larry Legend. Brutal, but unforgettable.
Larry Bird is one of the biggest trash talkers ever.
And then there's Bill Walton's story, which perfectly captures Bird's mix of dominance and comedy. Walton, the legendary big man, was all about team ball, spacing, passing, and movement. He believed in sharing the rock. But when he teamed up with Bird in Boston, he quickly realized things were different. One day, he tried talking strategy, bringing up how they could balance scoring. Bird just cut him off cold. "If you want shots, get rebounds. I'm taking them all. No hesitation, no debate. Just the truth, Bird style." And the funniest part, he actually went out and did it. Bird took over games, hoisted shots from everywhere, and Walton just laughed because he'd been warned. That's how Bird operated. Blunt to your face, no filters, but always backing it up on the floor. He wasn't trying to be funny, but you couldn't help laughing at the sheer confidence. Who else could say something like that and then go prove it every single night? And then came Clyde Drexler's welcome to the league moment. As a rookie, Drexler found himself matched up against Larry Bird, thinking maybe his athleticism could slow down the legend. Bird sized him up and delivered one of the coldest lines you'll ever hear. "You can't stop me. You're a rookie. You don't know anything." Drexler barely had time to process it before Bird went to work. Shot after shot, bucket after bucket, 10 straight points right in his face. The crowd was eating it up. Drexler was left spinning, and Bird just kept moving like it was another day at the office. Later, Bird decided to crank the humiliation up a notch. He told Drexler exactly what move he was about to do. Same spot, same motion. Drexler knew what was coming. And it didn't matter. The Bird hit it anyway. That's the kind of stuff that made him terrifying and hilarious at the same time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bird.
And if you ask the Pistons bad boys, they'll tell you Bird wasn't just tough. He was downright unstoppable. John Sally remembered it like yesterday. Detroit prided itself on its brutal, physical defense. They'd rough you up, make you miss, and wear you down. But when it came to Larry Bird, nothing worked. Sally said Bird just kept hitting shots, one after another, like a machine with unlimited ammo. Fadeaways, spot-ups, contested jumpers. It didn't matter who was on him or how tight the defense was. Larry Bird never tried to be funny, yet his blunt honesty and icy confidence created the funniest legends in NBA history. He didn't play for laughs. He played to win. And in the process, he left behind stories so unbelievable, players are still laughing decades later. Like, share, and subscribe.